Welcome to 7 days healing, liberation, and cultural celebration. Habari Gani Kuumba. Kuumba means creativity. So as we've been practicing this week, call and response made me, I may point to myself. So when I say Habari Gani, which means what is the news, you say the principle for the day. Let's try it. Habari Gani Kuumba. Kuumba is the principle. Yes, it's important that we try something new. We be creative. And being creative by trying a new language, a cultural tongue from our motherland, assures us that we can be resilient. We can have a new year. We'll be have strategies, and we will embrace a new way. We are not going back to normal. Today we have a wonderful lineup for you. I'm very excited on us having this right before New Year's. Oh my gosh. It makes me want to keep singing and playing music and swaying because our lineup for Kuumba, creativity, means so many things. So, as we practice this call and response, I think I told you all yesterday, Habari Gani, right? We say, what is the news? We also, if it was morning, would say, Habari Asubahi. Habari Asubahi means good morning. For some of you, it is morning. For some of you in certain areas, Habari Manchana, it's the afternoon, right? Creativity means if we were to expand, just like exposure to another country, right? A lot of our children, as a teacher, I found out, never left the cities they lived in. And so even going up an escalator in certain cities that I've been in, and the young people who usually are like almost high school age when I taught middle school, have never been exposed. We've got to be creative in how we will try a new strategy in this new year for 2021. And so today, in thinking about strategies, because of our lineup, you're going to embrace a new tongue of language, a new way of meditation to ground you, a new way of thinking of creativity. Even when I think of words in welcoming you, I've also thought about this, right? And that is one of the ways that Nelson Mandela really spoke to us was through his poetry, right? He said these words, and I'm going to sing the first part because this is just a welcome. Our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. So, creatively thinking instead of words to sing or to move is who we are, because that is our people. From the motherland, that's how we loved each other. So in this spirit and this lineup that we have for Kuumba, I welcome, if we are ready now, I'm going to welcome our first guest, who's actually Satyani Mcpherson, who's going to lead us in a wonderful meditation mindfulness practice. If we can have Satyani now with us. I love this woman and her work. Like, oh, hey, welcome, sister. I am so grateful that you are here with us. I've met you through the wonderful gathering that was at the Spirit Rock of all those brilliant African-American mindful practitioners in the United States. So I'm going to let you have the floor now, introduce yourself, and bring us to a place of this creative energy juices, which also is about keeping us in our head and mindfulness. So thank you again for coming, Asante Sana.
I don't know how to say you're welcome, but Asante Sana to you too, Sister Alita. Thank you for inviting me and for your generous spirit in sharing with the community at large. So I'm Satyani Mcpherson. I'm a mindfulness mentor and founder of Cosmic Light Meditations. Mindfulness. What is mindfulness? What is meditation? Mindfulness is being aware of whatever we're experiencing, whatever physical sensations, emotions, or thoughts that we are experiencing right here and now in the present moment. So some of us are mistakenly believe that it's about struggling with our mind and stopping thinking, and no, that's not it. It's simply being aware of thinking, if that's what's happening in the moment, being aware of whatever is occurring in the present moment. And this can help us. It certainly helped me in my life. I grew up in a home where there was lots of turmoil. And after leaving home and discovering meditation, this really helped to calm my mind, calm my nervous system, calm my spirit, especially when I've been triggered, having experienced traumatizing situations in my youth. And mindfulness can help us to not only to calm down, but to improve focus, to improve our general feeling of well-being. And if we pause to notice just how we're doing in the present moment, I ask each one of us now, how are you? Maybe you might discover that generally, most of the time, everything is okay. And that's usually the case. And by training our mind to focus back in the present moment helps us to tune into that innate well-being and into the innate wisdom within all of us. And so we're going to start with a little grounding practice, grounding into sensations in our body, sensations of breath. And then we're going to segue into a very brief life visioning process. So life visioning is a little different than visualization. Visualization is imagining in our mind something that we want to create. Oh, there's that perfect significant other that we're seeking in life, or that perfect job, or the perfect home, or whatever it may be. And we can see it, we can taste it, and we are focusing our attention on that. And it's true, whatever we focus our attention on is very likely to materialize in our life. So life visioning is a little different than that. It's about tuning in to that awareness within ourselves that allows us to know everything that we experience. And this awareness is limitless. It's infinite. And it goes beyond imagination and beyond thoughts and thinking. So I invite you to try this if you wish. The invitation is to, if your legs are crossed, uncross our legs, make ourselves comfortable in our seat, perhaps scooting a little bit forward so that our hips are a little higher than the knees, the feet are flat on the floor, and our spine is upright with dignity and royalty, like the royalty within each of us. And the crown of our head is reaching toward the heaven, so that our spine is upright yet relaxed. And if you feel comfortable closing your eyes, that's an option. Or if you would prefer to have them slightly open, just casting your gaze downward, maybe a couple of feet in front of us, away from the screen, because we're going to focus on a still point if our eyes are open, and I will not be a still point. So choosing how you wish to meditate, with eyes open or closed, as we notice the touch of our feet on the floor, feeling maybe the texture of the floor, of the carpet, of our socks or footwear, touching against the skin, and knowing that below this floor, below the foundation of this building, the earth supports us. And then turning your attention inwardly, even more inside the feet, you may notice sensations. Or not, but just noticing whatever you're experiencing as we allow the attention to float upward through the legs, noticing the touch of clothing on the skin, any other sensations within, and then becoming aware of our seat and our bottom, gently pressing against the seat as gravity holds us in place and the seat supports us as we are present here and now. And then noticing the sensations of breath moving in and out of the body. This is a natural process that we simply take gentle notice of, how the breath feels as it moves through the body. Perhaps becoming aware of where the breath is most strongly felt in the body. This could be in the nostrils, or the throat, or the chest and lungs, or in our belly and abdomen. Where do you notice the breath most profoundly in your body? As you allow the body to continue breathing naturally, with a very soft, gentle focus on the sensations of breath, effortlessly moving in and out. And as we segue gently into our life visioning process, as we tune in to whatever it is we wish to create in our life, choosing one aspect of our life to focus on. So it could be a new habit that we wish to cultivate, or maybe we want to bring forth some of our gifts and talents that are already within us. Maybe we want to become aware of how we wish to appear in the world. And I don't mean appearances as far as what others think of us, but how do we want to step forth into our life? Choosing one aspect of our life that we wish to actualize and create. As we tune into that inner wisdom, asking ourselves, what wishes to emerge through me now, through my life? And perhaps seeing ourselves in our most favorite surroundings. It could be a place in nature, in the forest, at the beach, at a childhood home, or someplace else. A place where we can really be ourselves effortlessly, Again asking, what is seeking to emerge through me, to be expressed through my life now? And perhaps in your mind's eye, looking around at your surroundings, maybe becoming aware of the places that support your manifestation of this powerful, beautiful being that you are. What must I become for this vision to manifest? What qualities must I bring out? Must I bring forth? What new habits must I create? And what must I release? Oftentimes, we focus on what it is that we don't want in life. We resist. And whatever we resist persists. And so recognizing these limiting aspects of our life and recognizing what I must release to allow the beautiful vision of my life to come forth through me, as me now. And perhaps gently inhaling and with a sigh, releasing whatever that is that needs releasing. Maybe a couple more times. Inhaling light, strength, and love. And releasing any limiting thinking, words, or behavior. And one more time, inhaling and releasing whatever you know to let go of. And asking, what talents, gifts, and capacities do I already have that can serve this vision? Yes, we are all born with gifts and talents. Pause to recognize what they are. At least one quality that is a gift to the world that comes through you. What is that? What talents, gifts, strengths do I already have to serve this vision? And how does it feel emotionally as you step into this vision? Is there a lightness, an inspiration, happiness, enthusiasm, passion? Try to tune into the emotional state of living this beautiful vision that is you. And how do these uplifting emotions, how do they feel in the body? Where do you feel them in your body? And what is the feeling tone of these emotions? As we give thanks for this beautiful life vision that is you. You already are this. You were born this way. Know this, feel this, be this wonderful gift that you are. In the spirit of kuumba and creativity, And there is an awareing presence that is aware of the sound of this voice, of what you just visioned for your life. What is aware of all of this? Can you turn your attention toward that with the same curiosity with which we explored the sensations of breath and your life vision? What is aware of all that we experience that brings our experience into manifestation in our lives? This awareing presence is our essence. As we give thanks for our life vision and for the awareing presence from which it springs forth. Asante Sana. Peace and blessings.
Asante Sana. Asante Sana to you. Thank you. That was very beautiful. Hopefully everyone is feeling grounded. We're so grateful to her in this place where we are now.
I'm on the cusp of Aquarius, and so I gotta say, take me to the water.
So we're going to go to the water, the libation right now. That's Nina Simone. She's going to bring us to this part. Stay with us while I go to the table.
Take me to the water to be baptized. Because you see, I know that none but the righteous know. But the righteous, none but the righteous shall see God.
And Justice will light the first candle, Umoja.
So take me to the water, cools me, child. Take me to
Then Kuji Chakalia.
Rudy Chocolate.
And then Ujima. Ujima.
sea, ocean, and I don't mind if it's turbulent, and I don't mind
Then
if it's calm,
Ujama.
and I don't mind if it's green, I don't mind if it's blue,
Then Nia.
but as long as it's
Nia.
water,
Nia.
then I feel at home.
Then
Cause it's so
Kaumba.
Kaumba.
Yes, thank you. Kaumba.
Got to hide it. Cools me right down. I know.
And so the principle here, this being the table, you show first the foundation, which is the mat. We represent Mother Africa. Represents that if we have a foundation and it's rooted and we learn from it, we will grow and it will protect us and it will hold us up as it holds us as we time together. And the Mazoma, it represents the fruit, the first harvest, nuts and fruit, and all kinds of squash. That represents That's going back to the ways of our great-grandparents, putting their hands in the dirt, cultivating vegetables right now during COVID-19, a way where we don't look towards Target and Amazon. We go back to the pursuit. All the statues of our ancestors, statues here, the Kanara, which holds the Saba, the Wudu Saba, right? The Kimbur Saba, the Gombisa Umoja, the Gombe Unity Cup. Everyone in your home can drink from that. The Machina, Mahindi, Mahindi. Is the ears of corn. If you have two children like I did, I always had two. With one child now, even though he's coming back from college, you still leave this on your table, Mahindi, for your child. And if you don't have children, you always leave one. We're responsible for every children in our community, even if it's one. That would mean it takes a village to raise a child. In the Badera, yeah, Pipa, the red for the blood, the black for the people, and the green for the land. Always represent. That's what Kwanzaa means. Ancestors, activity, symbols of care. And lastly, the Zawadi gift. Not Christmas gift, Zawadi. Gifts to give to your family, made or bought in African shops. Giving things such as beers you can make, or knitting, or things that you painted, and books about our culture. This is the time to read. This is the time to get your family out of the computer and the telephone and read together. Every night during Kwanzaa, but we are doing, like Mama Kanobi said yesterday, Kwanzaa every day of this year. This is the ceremony.
I know that there are only 300 black students here in this college of 18, I think, 16 or 15, 16, 17 or whatever it is, thousands of students. So that means that you must feel lonely lots of the time. Either that or you are bind yourselves together and have made a force. I am not sure which direction you have taken, but this song, which is my last one, is dedicated only to you, you 18,000 do not need it. When I die, my people, when I go, you see, I'm going to know that I left something for them to build on. That is my reward. You got yours, your money, your parents, and your easy living. My folks got nothing, and they need inspiration 24 hours a day. That's why I'm here.
So thank you for joining this part of our program with our Kwanzaa setup. I would like to introduce now our next guest. And our next guest is a part of a group or another organization. We would love for you to connect in with it. This woman is not only representing a woman. Our lineup most of this week, as far as speakers, have been mostly men. The first day was me and my daughter for Unity. The second day was Imam Jamil, who was known as H-Rap Brown. And our third day was Mamiya, who brought a recording to us outside of the prison. And then the next day we had Kazi Toure, and then We are today having two speakers, but the first speaker being a woman. As a woman, I find it important. But also, this organization that Lisa Brock represents, Hands Off Asada, for so many of you, the creativity is that Black Lives Matter, and many of the youth from the pandemic uprising use a saying, and the saying goes like this: it is our duty to fight for freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and protect each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. And when we say this saying in this creative day called Kahumba, we lift our fists. And this has been the chant since Imam, who came up with Black Power, right? That was the 60s. This generation brings back this chant because many have read the book, autobiography of Assata Shakur. And if you're like me, that book, oh my. When I was in college, I performed a poem from that book. It was called Rhinoceros Woman. And I performed it every time I saw a group that I wanted to be. And then I was giving out rhinoceros to sisters that I knew that represented. It was from women in the prison. And that has been my long work, very much so, for many years, working with women in prison because of seeing that light, as she says in her book. So this woman that is on with us today, Lisa Brock, is one of the workers for Hands Off Asada. And we invite her to come in now. I'm so grateful to have her. Welcome, Lisa Brock.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? And see
Yes,
me?
yes,
Okay. I can't hear you. I don't know what's going on, but let's try this. I'm
that's all
sorry
right.
I couldn't get on the computer, so I'm on my phone
We're
and I'm
glad
looking
to have you.
down and kind of weird, but anyway.
Yeah,
Thank you, Sister Alita, for inviting me to participate in this 6th day of Kwanzaa celebrations. You invited me here to talk about our sister comrade, Assata Shakur, and the various Hands Off Assata campaigns that have happened over the last 40 years since she was incarcerated. I should lead in with the fact that I actually met Assata by phone in 1979 when I was a student at Howard, an undergraduate student at Howard, and we were having political prisoner solidarity days. And actually, Assata would call in. We would arrange with political prisoners to call in and give us greetings and to inspire us. And believe it or not, she called in on November 1st of 1979, and the very next day she escaped. And of course, we did not know that that was coming, and of course, she could not tell us that. But it was the first time I remember hearing her read her poem, The Tradition, which starts with carry it on, about the African tradition of resistance and survival. So I thought what I'd do, since you gave me about 20 minutes, what I thought I'd do is give you and the audience some brief background. I love the mindfulness start and the calm beginning because, of course, the life of Black people in this country has been anything but calm. We've had to fight for every breath, both physically and emotionally and psychically, that we've had in our time in this country and in the Americas as a whole. So what I thought I'd do, I know a lot of young people today and many in our community are inspired by Assata, but I'm not sure how many of them know the actual details of the case. And so I want to share just a bit about that first, because I think it's really important for people to be armed with the facts when they go out here and fight the state and fight the system on behalf of our people. So let me start with some background. So first, Assata was a victim of the FBI's COINTELPRO program, their counterintelligence program known as COINTELPRO, which targeted political activists such as Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., and indigenous leaders such as Leonard Peltier, among hundreds of others. As a member of the New York Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army, she fell victim of a common COINTELPRO strategy, which was to charge leaders with crimes that they did not commit. Assata was charged with 6 crimes she did not commit and was therefore put on the FBI's most wanted list. Now, the goal of COINTELPRO was to have people tied up in courts, because if you're tied up in courts, you're trying to raise money, you're trying to defend yourself, your potential as activists becomes reduced. And so part of that strategy was to tie people up in jail, in courts, and then hopefully put them in jail. So she went, when she was charged with these 6 crimes, she went, like Angela Davis and others, underground. While underground, she and 2 comrades were stopped on the New Jersey Turnpike on May 2nd of 1973. Interestingly, we don't know if they were initially stopped because they knew who they were or because they were simply driving while black. But once they did know, and there was a wanted poster on the FBI's most wanted list for her, she was picked up. And when they were stopped, a shootout occurred, and one of Assata's comrades, Zaid Malik Shakur, lay dead. And a state trooper lay dead, and Assata was also shot. So Zaid, a state trooper, lay dead, and Assata was shot. While in the hospital, they tried to kill her. Am I on or not? I keep getting messages, Alita. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on.
You are fine. Everything is great. Perfect.
Excuse me, everybody, if you can hear this.
You are good.
Okay, great.
You
Okay,
are
please stop texting me because I'm old school. I can't do more than one thing at a time right here. Hold my phone and also read my notes. So a shootout occurred on May 2nd of 1973, and Assata was shot, although not killed. While in the hospital, they actually tried to kill her, but if you read her autobiography, you can see how she survived that. Also, while in the hospital, they charged her and her remaining comrade, Sundiata Acoli, with first-degree murder of both the state trooper and her comrade, Zaid. Can you believe they charged them with the murder of the state trooper and her comrade, Zaid? Importantly, after she got out of the hospital, they had to try her for the original 6 cases for which she was initially charged. Remember that? That's why she was on the wanted list. In all 6 cases, she was found not guilty. Why is this important? Because without those 6 cases, she would never have been on the FBI's most wanted list, and the shootout would never have occurred. That shootout occurred because of COINTELPRO, not Assata Shakur or Sundiata Acoli. It was in the shootout case in 1977 that she was found guilty. The trial that led to her conviction was a travesty. 3 neurologists testified that the first gunshot shattered her clavicle and the second shattered the median nerve in her right hand. That testimony proved that she was sitting with her hands raised when the police shot her. Further testimony proved that no gun residue was found on her hands, nor were her fingerprints found on any of the weapons located at the scene. In addition, trial transcripts show that Trooper John Harper, the other New Jersey state trooper on the scene, admitted under cross-examination that he had lied in all 3 of his official reports and in his grand jury testimony. Nonetheless, an all-white jury stoked by racism convicted her to life plus 65 years. Lennox Hines, her trial attorney, called the trial a modern-day lynching. Interestingly, the trial judge tried unsuccessfully to have Hines disbarred for saying that. Assata escaped on November 2nd of 1979 with the help of numerous comrades, the bravery and help of numerous comrades. After some time underground, she resurfaced in Cuba, where she was granted political asylum according to international law. You can imagine the fury of the state carceral apparatus. How dare a black woman escape? First, such a thing had happened. First, that such a thing had happened, and it was the first time that such a thing had happened. Black woman escaping from a white man's jail. The FBI, especially their offices in New Jersey, have attempted since 1979 to capture and or reincarcerate and or kill our sister. The fact that she is in Cuba and they are unable to bribe, threaten the Cuban government, or snatch her has made their fury even more maniacal. After years of illegal bounties ranging from $50,000 to $1 million for her capture dead or alive, on May 3rd of 2013, the New Jersey FBI announced that they were putting her on the terrorist most wanted list, and the bounty was raised to $2 million. Now, this is interesting, to take a case, to take a person who was convicted of something in the past and adding new language to that conviction is also very rare. But they did it in her case. They said she was still espousing revolution and terrorism, as if the two are synonymous. Assata Shakur has never been a terrorist. She is a revolutionary, though. Assata Shakur, as she put it, is a 20th century escaped slave. She is indeed a modern-day maroon living in a nation, Cuba, that is also a maroon society. In fact, I spoke with filmmaker Gloria Rolando, who did the film Eyes of the Rainbow about Assata Shakur, and I spoke to her the other day, and she says, Lisa, please keep Cuba in your prayers because, we are maroons. And so Cuba is a maroon society, a society that ran away from capitalist exploitation to pursue a more humane pathway. And like Assata, they have been hounded by the U.S. government, which has tried to strangle them through the 60-year-old economic and political blockade. And yet Cuba refuses to give up its principles or our sister, no matter the threats. And believe me, the Cuban government has been threatened. And as you know, in these current times, Cuba still has the ability and the desire to send its international medical missions around the world to serve countries all over the world during this pandemic. As far as I know, Assata is healthy and well, although she is deep underground for her own protection right now. For many who were able to see her over the years when she was able to move around in Cuba, this has become increasingly dangerous, especially under administration of this 45th president, and thus is not possible. I am told that there is a large wanted poster of Assata with a $2 million bounty on it in the U.S. Embassy in Cuba, so that any Cuban that comes in there or anybody that comes in there to get a visa sees this poster. And that bounty hunters from the United States have been caught in Cuba trying to capture her. So this is no joke. The U.S. state still is after her, dead or alive. In conclusion, it's important to note that while COINTELPRO was deemed illegal in 1975, the people targeted by it are still incarcerated. And it was reimagined as policy under the Patriot Act of 2001, and so it is legal again. The carceral state that wanted Assata, Sundiata, and others to die in jail is still with us and alive and well today. We have political prisoners who were set up because they challenged the state, but we also have people targeted, as we know, just because they are black. In fact, when I heard about this man in Nashville, this white man who set off that bomb and did all that devastation, they don't call that terrorism. And then we find out that his girlfriend actually called over a year ago and said that he was making bombs in his RV in the backyard. And they did not investigate. They did not stop him. But they are so zealous that they can go into the wrong house of Breonna Taylor. And the recent case we just found out about here in Chicago, what's her name? Anjanette Young, and literally refused to let her put on her clothes before they falsely arrest her in the wrong apartment. They were not supposed to be in her apartment in the first place. So you have this zealousness of the carceral state to incarcerate black people. And you allow a bomber to go uninvestigated for a year and to cause all that damage. And the reason for this is black people, we're always runaway slaves or rebels or potential runaway slaves or rebels. And the state fears us for that. Also, as the Black Lives Matter struggle against police violence, while not new, is clearly more widespread because of social media, one thing has gotten less press, and that is the murder of activists today. 6 activists from Ferguson have been murdered since 2014, and I'm told more of this is occurring around the country. We need to do more investigation into these murders and who is behind them. Our history in this country and the history of Assata tell us to stay vigilant always. I actually did want to say something about Assata you may not know in conclusion, which makes Kumba a good day to celebrate our sister. And that is, she is, in addition to being a poet and great writer, also a great visual artist. She paints and draws and does multimedia work. In fact, one of the ways she survived when she was in the hole in solitary confinement was through painting. Her aunt actually argued for her to have some paints, and she managed to paint while in the hole. None of those paintings have been made public, although we do have slides of them. A lot of her other work has been shown in shows in this country, the Hands Off Assata campaign, the birthday campaign. We used to have art shows to raise money for the Hands Off Assata campaign, and we at various times would have her work there. So other people do, in fact, have her work. So in conclusion, I imagine her now sitting on a veranda.
Thank you. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? No. Can you hear me? You can't hear me. That's fine. She can't hear me, and that's fine. I did want to say that I was able to meet Asada when I went to Cuba. And I'm glad to hear that you've mentioned how important it is with creativity. Yes, she's a painter. She draws. Okay, that's all right. We're gonna have her. We'll have her go off since she can't hear me now, and maybe we'll have a dialogue with her later. But like I mentioned, yes, she mentioned that Asada not only draws, and she's not only drawing, she's making paintings. And the biggest thing was when I was there in Cuba with her in 1998. I was there with the Interfaith Pilgrimage of the Middle Passage, retracing slavery. Our walking journey ended with Nelson Mandela after we left Asada, and then went to Acapulco Village in Jamaica. I went to Haiti, Papa Doc's, and everywhere else, and then to the Colombos in Brazil. We ended with Nelson Mandela. But my part in the journey of going to see Asada was truly about this work. The creative ways that our elders, she is my elder, and we are going to protect her. And I say this because, Andriette Young, as you mentioned, was in Chicago in her home when they came and assaulted her. And that case is right now being dealt with. We have to be with those that need the support. Yes, it's important to watch these shows and to join Kwanzaa, but I'm saying this because even Breonna Taylor, right? There are many people that left other states to join in with that battle for Breonna. Join in with our comrades. And the reason why that happens is to show that we are in solidarity. When I talk about the cooperative that we are starting, it was many cities right? That were isolated, and so they took them out, right? Rosewood or what have you. In this fact that I went to Asada, there was many of us that believe as young people that we want to live our lives as our ancestors had in the motherland, 54 countries. This is nothing new. And we don't want it to just be, when I say creativity, that I was doing poems and enacting her dances. Now, I do want to remind you of this so you'll know. When Asada met with me in 1998, and I was in awe and very, very humbled, she asked me to teach her some dance steps. So what I want to say about that is, it's the love of creativity. I am a dancer, and I couldn't think of some dance. I'm sitting in a rocking chair like, oh my gosh, she wants me to teach her some dance steps. And I'm a dancer, and I couldn't get to that space. Of course, I did a couple things. She wanted to know the latest dance steps. But what I'm saying is, to be creative means we can't go in fear, right? To protect her means that we come what we call pumziko, at peace, always ready to defend. And that means that when we think of Andriette Young in Chicago, when we think of Breonna Taylor in the South, when we think of this bomber, as she mentioned just now, Lisa, Anthony Quinn Warner, right? He was not checked when his girlfriend mentioned a year ago that he was a bomber. But here is a case with Assata Shakur where the evidence proves again, right, that we, because of our skin, because we love who we are as a people, because we defend and we are our grandparents' wildest dreams, and our mothers were Mahdias, right? And Mahdia and whoever else you called your grandmother were women that weren't considered victims of oppression because they were strong and they had their hands on their hips, and they were like Ella Baker and Fannie Lou Hamer. And we said what we felt, right? Even though we were humbled most of the time in our churches, right? Or in our communities, and showed love and dance and pain. We just had the love of life, and we weren't protected through the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But we have to stand up. And standing up for her in a creative way is why when we do lift our fists, if you are in the streets through the pandemic uprising, and you lift your fists to say it is our duty to fight for freedom, it is our duty to win, we must love and protect each other, we have nothing to lose but ourselves, you are creatively finding a way to unite when you lift your fists. You are creatively using solidarity when we do call and response. Now, some of y'all, you go to these concerts, y'all know how people are. They won't move, they won't nod their head, they won't even shake their body, right? We've got to be creative in showing that we're in solidarity. If you remember the woman in Napa, the Black woman that went to Napa, California, they were loud, they were having fun. They were Black women, first of all. And we had a little wine because they were there for the wine country. But they were a writing group or poetry group of some kind. And they were just being them in solidarity. And their bodies scared Napa. But being together, they did not hush. They weren't quiet. They sued the city of Napa and they won. Geronimo, in charge of the Black Panther Party in LA, who was accused of killing a woman, just like Assata is accused, he was let free because creatively, we did not stop until he was free. And then the government had to pay millions of dollars for Geronimo. Yesterday we had Kazi. With Kazi yesterday was Daruba, who was also supposed to be. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it. He also was put in jail as a Black Panther. And creatively, we come up with strategies to say no. He was also released and given millions of dollars. And what am I saying is that if we stay in fear, they've won. If we creatively move and consider, just like we have to do for Mamiya and Imam and Asada, consider that our bodies, right? And I'm saying this today because it is a woman we're talking about right now, Andriette Young and Breonna Taylor. And if you can put that first slide on, consider of the creative ways. This first article just says Asada was convicted of killing a police officer still wanted by the FBI 40 years after fleeing to Cuba. We creatively freed her, and we will protect her, and we want others to know who she is. Say the poems and the dances and the songs for her. Say it is our duty. If we can go to the next slide. It is not okay that they put a over her head this millions of dollars. And because let's hear this, what she says here. Nobody in the world, nobody in history has ever gotten their freedom by appealing to the moral sense of the people who were opposing them. If you haven't read the book, Asada's biography, please read it. Next slide. It's important that we remember that although they're in exile, our political prisoners, although they're in prison, we have to do what it takes to free them. With the uprising now, with new political prisoners, we have funding to help support them. Yes, we're calling for a creative way to get some of that money to the political prisoners that have been in from our movements, not forgotten. We don't want to have this amnesia. That next slide is the Asada slide, Asada Shakur slide I was going to show with Lisa, but I want to put that on also. Because to be creative, we must see Breonna Taylor and Andrea Young in the same way we say her name of anyone that has been killed or police violence, brutality, and even Asada needs to still be in the narrative. So this slide that we're going to show now, the last one of Asada, it shows a few different photos of her. Hopefully we still have that. If not, I'll show it later. I am just very grateful to have Lisa Brock. There it is. And there's that quote, right? Here's just like, when we said free Angela, there's a button, hands off Asada. Hands off Asada. We hope you will join. Here is a picture of the book, Asada Shakur's book, the autobiography. Wonderful book where these poems that I have mentioned. This is a great time now to read during Kwanzaa, but all year round, as we're saying for 2021. If you want to be in the strategy with all these movements together, what we're saying is politically educate. This forum is a political education. We could have just made it dance and song, right? Today, I did a little bit of that, trying to. But it's to allow you to remember that usually in your day, 9 to 5, you're getting information from a white supremacist, imperialist system, patriarchal system, when we think of Asada having her child, and if I can just mention, as I mentioned before, I was blessed to see Asada's story when I think of my own mother, who was beat down by several cops when she was pregnant with me in Boston, Massachusetts, because she spoke on the radio station at Northeastern University. And they did not know the strategies I would take, because I remember and see my mother every day, knowing that the dementia she has now from those blows to her head, her afro wig, her afro that she had back then, she was pulled out of with her comrades and bully clubbed while she was pregnant with me. And thank goodness I'm okay to a degree, I presume. Meditation has helped. But I'm saying that we can't forget. I will never forget my mother. I won't let any of you all forget. But Sada is like another mother to me. Our Babas, Kazi and Imam, Jamil and Mamiya are our fathers. They're like fathers to me. Why? Because they showed us how to live out of fear. Culturally, creatively, we can live without fear. As Nina Simone has sung in these days of Kwanzaa. Please sign up for Hands Off Asada. Just as you are doing the work with nonprofits, do not forget these organizations, because remember, I have discussed what the nonprofit industrial complex is and what the Black liberation movement is. And they're not from the same teaching. A lot of the nonprofits today look for all of us as African American who are savvy from our colleges, right? Not that they're not teaching us African American history and what have you, but the Black liberation movements come about because of what they've done on the grassroots level. They know because of, our elders that have taught them from a Southern vernacular of the Black radical tradition, right? And so you have to know to support them, to fund them, as we did yesterday for Ujamaa, but today creatively finding ways to bring up these words. Asata and Imam Jamil and Mamiya, they all need to be free. So this next group, and we're thank you, Lisa, for coming today. As this says, it is our duty to fight for freedom. It is our duty to win. The next group that we have coming as well from the Black liberation movement for an elder political prisoner, as we've had all week. I am very excited to have Kempis Songstress succumb today. And I want to make sure I'm saying his name right. I don't want to mess up any more of people's names here today. And Kempis represents the Kempis Songstress. Yes, Songster. Hey, Kempis, welcome. He represents the leadership of another political prisoner, Maroon, as we call him. Welcome to our show. Please put the marquee here that it scrolls at the bottom to really substantiate who you are. We are grateful to have you in our midst, Kempis Songster, and tell us more about what we're dealing with when it comes to Russell Maroon Schultz.
Right. Habari Gani.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Kaumba.
Kuumba. Yes. To do always as much as we can in the way that we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than it was when we inherited it. So my name is Kempis Songster. I'm the Healing Justice Organizer with the Amistad Law Project, but also working with a group on behalf of political prisoner Russell Maroon Schultz. We did the We Are Maroon virtual teach-in earlier this month on the 11th. I just want to say before anything else, it's an honor to be here speaking on behalf of Maroon and to receive blessings from his daughter to speak about Maroon and to just join you, Alita, and to be invited to do this. Thank you for holding space, for especially holding space with the beautiful vocals and the essence of the incomparable Nina Simone. And I just also want to echo Lisa Brock's gratitude for Satyani's grounding us at the beginning in mindfulness. Mindfulness and healing practices, I think, is woefully underappreciated in our movement and by our movement. But so Maroon's situation is very, very crucial. Maroon has been in prison since 1972, January 1972, about a month before I was born, for an offense that happened in 1970. He's been in prison for going on half a century now. He's 77 years old. He is a former member of the Black Liberation Army, a contemporary and comrade of Assata Shakur. He founded the Black Unity Council in Philadelphia, which was a group that was, discharging duties to the community, food programs, educational services, security for elders, the whole nine. And it was, at that time in Philadelphia, Maroon was growing up under the regime of Frank Rizzo. Frank Rizzo was the mayor of the city at the time. And Frank Rizzo's Blue Guard is what he called his police. Frank Rizzo, whose statue was finally torn down or dragged down during the summer uprisings of this year. At that time, he was a tyrant in in Philadelphia. He was go on record for saying that his police, with just his police officers, he could take over Cuba. He could win the war in Cuba and take over Cuba. So this is the kind of mentality that was controlling the police force that at the time was very oppressive to the African American community and poor communities and communities of color in Philadelphia. Maroon and a group of comrades of his was arrested for an offense that involved the death of a police officer. And he's been in prison ever since. He spent over 30 years in solitary confinement, sensory deprivation. He's survived prostate cancer, multiple cataract surgeries, and right now he's battling stage 4 cancer. He's been battling stage 4 cancer for about a year and a half, and he recently tested positive for COVID-19. Right, and so his situation is very, very dire. Fortunately, there has been a breath of energy in the campaign to free him, and to free him now, and to get him compassionate release. There's some actions that's going on January 15th. There's going to be a funeral procession and die-in, on his behalf. So an ethical spectacle, basically, trying to convey the message that so long as Maroon or any freedom fighter, any defender of the community, anyone that fought against injustice is languishing in prison, then justice is dead. Humanity is dead, right? Mercy is dead. And so this ethical spectacle is going to be taking place on January 15th, on the birthday of Martin Luther King. Because as you know, Martin Luther King, when he sat in the Birmingham